Hi guys, my name's Alyssa and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do the 11th house. As we know, we have one house left because there are 12 houses, so the 11th, second to last. It's a very important house. Everybody has an 11th house. It doesn't matter if you have planets in there or what. It is a succedent house. It means it follows an angular house. And all of these succedent houses are connected, the 2nd, the 8th, the 5th, and the 11th. They all support an angular house. And how they support it is actually by giving, value and meaning to what goes on in these angular houses. If you look, the 2nd house is all about your actual security and your belongings and the value you give yourself after the 1st house gives you your identity. And then you have the 5th house, which is like how your childhood actually plays out in the gifts of children and creative endeavors that you give to yourself after the 4th house of home is developed. And then you have the 8th house, which actually is a gift of power and a super amount of connection to other people, these relationships that you have. So if the 10th house is that perfect midheaven point of your purpose and your fame and your career and all of that as it plays out, your 11th house gives value to that. It carries that out. And that's why a lot of things you'll read about the 11th house, they actually call it the house of your hopes and dreams, which is so not concrete enough for me to spend an entire video talking about, because I don't care about your hopes and dreams. I think that your hopes and dreams can actually be found in a lot of places. Modern astrology also calls it your friendship house and the communities and networking. And to be honest, the 11th house is one of those houses that I was so confused about when I first started getting into astrology. I just avoided it. Like if your sun was in the 11th house, I'd be like, oh, you're a really good networker. You have a lot of friends. And like that's, I feel like what a lot of people do when they start thinking about the 11th house. But in reality, it supports your midheaven. So yeah, it's the people around you that you bring in. And so it is that networking, that ability to take off from the 10th house. But it's also more than that. And it's more than just your hopes and dreams. It's like the value you give yourself in your purpose, which means that it's kind of like the universe, which totally coincides with 11. 11 is the master number, the only master number that we have in our houses. And because it's the 1-1, the gods in the universe giving you things to carry out your 10th house purpose. If you have a lot of issues in your 11th house, it kind of means you might not have that support. And I'm not just saying the support from friends, because yes, it's a house of friendships and networking, but it is support from the unknown too. Just kind of that random, where is my support coming from? Well, you can find out in the 11th house. You cannot do your 10th house without your 11th house. It means that if you're having an issue, say Saturn's transiting your 11th house, right? Or you have Saturn in your 11th house. It means you'll be having an issue either all the time because that's where Saturn is, or when it transits, because everyone will go through a transit at one point. You will have an issue with not getting the support that you want for your career choices. Now this will give you like an option basically when you start realizing you're not getting any support. Do you carry on your own? Or do you look at it and say, maybe I'm on the wrong track? Someone with their Saturn always in the 11th house will have a lot of issues believing in their own abilities to do what they want to do. And they will find that they have to start believing in themselves because nobody else will, and they need to go and do their own thing. And a lot of times I've seen a Saturn in the 11th who escape from other people or even just any sort of responsibility in general for a little while so that they can figure out what they actually want to do. It makes sense because when your 11th house is stunted or like has a lot of lessons to learn, you're not going to get the support from the people around you. You're not going to get that universal support, that God support for what you want to do. And you're going to have to decide if you can find it within yourself. Now, say you have Jupiter in the 11th house. When Jupiter's in your 11th house, it expands that house. And so you seem to always do well in your given career. I have a lot of seems like support from anywhere. Doesn't mean that with someone with Jupiter in the 11th house is always just going to succeed. It just is that extra expansion of this supportive dreamer's house. Someone really important to me actually has a lot of planets in their 11th house, which is called a stellium. She had a really, really hard childhood. And you would think that if I'm talking about the 11th house this way, that a bunch of planets there wouldn't be so bad. You know, like all of them are supporting her ability to have this wonderful career life. And she's never had that, or at least being able to take her hopes and dreams out. But also the 11th house opposes the 5th house. And if the 5th house is about your childhood and you have a lot anchoring you to the opposite house, you may not have had that childhood. So when I see the moon in the 11th house, and the moon represents your mother, I'm going to say your mother didn't necessarily give you much of a childhood. Might have wanted you to grow up really quickly so that she could show you off as a very accomplished child. Just a very detached parenting. Maybe you viewed your mother in an 11th house Aquarius-like light of caring more about the world and what you can bring to it than she did about your actual creative soul. And so you feel kind of alone. The 11th house can be a hard house to even enjoy because, like they say, it's a lot easier to give a child a good home in the beginning than it is to try to heal a child of their shitty home later on in life. And I know a lot of people say that, oh, you know, I didn't have this in my childhood and I'm fine. And you're just kind of look at that person, you're like, well, you're not really that fine. You're not. You have a ton of issues. Yes, we all have a ton of issues, but wouldn't it be great if we could have a secure, creative, stable childhood? A childhood that was void of stunting in the 5th house, where we get to really expand our brains and really get to learn a lot about who we are, and then go and grow up and get to be adults and feel equipped. When you have a lot in the 11th house, it's saying, oh, you never got to have that childhood. You just had to be an adult. You just had to do things for other people. You didn't get to ever experience that, well, me thing. You were always looking at, well, what about the greater good of everybody? What am I doing for the greater good of my family? And if you have your son there, that might be what you felt like. Here's my family. I'm watching everybody. Because a lot of 11th house people are very observant of everybody and what they can do to help them. And because of that, they can, and everybody, I mean, I think everybody is what falls in the 11th house. If your personal, romantic relationships or your partnerships are in the 7th house, your 11th house isn't just about partnerships. It's not at all. Your 11th house is just about everybody else. The network, organizations you choose to lead or follow in. I mean, the cults are in there. If you want to be a part of a great cult, look into your 11th house. When I was kicked out of my megachurch, or I left, the progressed moon, which is my progressed emotions, were going through the 11th house. And towards the last 5 degrees of that house, that's when I decided to make a decision to leave. And then, of course, I went into the 12th house of despair and sadness, because that's what happens after the 11th house. Enjoy it while it lasts, because now you have to go deal with your 12th house stuff. But it really was like a separation of me from this organization. And somebody with a lot of planets might find that they really enjoy organizations. They like to be a part of it, whether it's a community or a church or the PTA or something that's a part of you that you like. And you probably like it because you like the support of other people. And you like to help other people because you are good at that. So what you have to learn is to stop helping other people and sometimes help yourself. And that can seem very selfish to an 11th house person. That can seem like something you just really don't want to do. On the flip side, having Saturn in the 11th house can make somebody feel more selfish because Saturn's opposing it and you have a lot of these issues to deal with. How to be selfless, how to not always focus on yourself and not blame other people for your victimhood, but just to stand up and be strong. It takes a lot of balance. And after that, Saturn, you're guaranteed rewards. That's what Saturn does. You follow the lessons of Saturn. You don't avoid it. You don't play a victim. You don't ask other people for support all the time. You use the 11th house wisely. But what I see in the 11th house is when you gather these communities together to support something, either you have issues getting from them in monetary, emotional, whatever ways. You have issues with them rallying on your side, or you don't. Or it's really easy. And either way, it's a struggle without basically being like, hey, no, it's easy for me to do this, so I'm not going to take advantage of you. Or B, it's really hard for me to do this. Nobody cares. And so I really, really have to try to get this kind of support. Now, when you're constantly searching for support from these other people to support your purpose, you have to realize that your own particular purpose is unique to you and selfish. All right, it just is. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong. But the 10th house is supposed to be a selfless place. The 11th house is selfless. The 12th house is selfless. This is where you're giving about all of your energy, your personal energy, and you're giving it to other people. Your purpose as a human being is selfish, but your purpose outside of you is selfless. The purpose that you are here to help other people with A or B or C, that is selfless. Relying on other people to support you in your purpose is selfish. But the 11th house doesn't want it to be that way. The 11th house wants you to learn how to do you, how to not be a victim of your circumstances, and give to other people completely selflessly, but not void of your own personal purpose. So here's your 5th house. That's the selfish house. 11th house, that's the selfless house. That's the house that gives to people. That is sometimes feeling so devoid of an ego, you go again batshit crazy. But so having your sun there, which your sun represents your ego, you need to fulfill that purpose. And so I'm going to tell you, your sun sign is not going to feel very good doing selfish things. It just won't. Your ego is not okay with that. You could try and try and try and feed it and feed it. I know an 11th house sun who had an affair and started smoking and drinking and just giving up her kids for her husband to watch because she was so just like, I'm so tired of giving my whole life to somebody else. And that didn't feel good. That was like an opposite extreme. What she had to learn was balance, was giving herself alone time, giving herself what she wanted, and also giving out to people. And it's a very, very important balance. It's true that sometimes when you grow up without a childhood, you need to have a little bit of a childhood, and having children is not the way to go about it because you're not ready, because you are going to have to face another childhood sometime. You're going to feel like, why am I always so responsible and giving to so many people? And you're going to get drained, and you can't. Having Jupiter there for me too, I do get drained a lot. I feel like I want to help people. It's like a thing I'm good at, and if I'm not protective of myself, I get really bogged down by it. With any planet there, you kind of have the same feeling. That planet, if it's not protected, does start being like, holy shit, I'm not giving anything to myself. I am not being supportive of myself. 11 is the master number, and the 11 needs the balance. It needs to find balance, and that's why you have to figure out how to balance that out so you're not drained, but that you're not being selfish with other people's time and money that they're giving to you, that you're actually giving back to them. You will not just have your hopes and dreams, you will be given those universal gifts to achieve your purpose. We as people are not forgotten about. We are all important, and everybody wants to be special. Everybody does. Everybody wants to be Jay-Z or Beyonce. Problem is, that their abilities are unreachable. It is very rare to be a Jay-Z or Beyonce. So if you go through life thinking that's what you're going to be, you're going to fall short. You are given a purpose and it is unique to you. Do not want Jay-Z or Beyonce's purpose. You want your own. And through your own 10th house, you will find the skills of the 11th house to support it. You will find the people to rally around you. If you're not getting that, then maybe you're on the wrong track. And the 11th house will show you that. And it will show you where you need to pick yourself up. And you will find the realization of your hopes and dreams through the help and support of other people. And that's your 11th house. Goodbye.